What is up guys, Wraec is here with a new video, and today we are going to talk about Clashfronts because Clashfronts is about to start. I know you can't see it in game because for some reason if you click on it, it says not available instead of guiding us into it and letting us read the rules. Like for example, it would be for battle drills where even if it's not open, we can see, okay, it's available in 4 days, 5 hours, we can see all the rules, we can see everything going. It's not the thing for Clashfronts, so you have to rely on YouTube videos, and this is where I come into play, and I will give you all of the infos right now in this very compact video. You will get the top strategies, you will get all the info that you need if you have never played the game out before. I will tell you a trick, basically not really a trick, a way you can quickly set up teams for Clashfronts if you don't have a whole lot of time, and this is an AFK game of course, so many people don't have a lot of time. And then we're going to do a video tomorrow with some more in-depth team guides. And then lastly, I want to show you guys the strategy that I am going to use with my own guild Omega project right here. And this is a strategy that is very tough to do, but might be interesting and cool for you to see nonetheless. And I thought it would be kind of bad to make a video on it and not even tell you guys the strategy I do with my own guild. So definitely want to show you guys that. Starting off, why do you even want to participate in it? Well, there is a ton of loot! We could see it in one of my last videos. I waited for the Smoky change to 1.3.2 update showcase, where we saw that it was like a statue, a title, 10 stellar crystals, 100 twilight essence, 25 temporal essence, and some XP and essence in the highest tier, the exalted tier, and of course a little bit lower rewards in the lower tiers, but still nonetheless a ton of loot that you could potentially get. Plus there are settlement rewards, plus there are deployment rewards. So overall, this game mode is the most rewarding guild game mode, and maybe even the most rewarding game mode that we have in the game. Maybe in competition with Ravaged Realm, but we will have to see. This is still a ton of loot and you don't want to miss out. How do you participate? Well, you need a guild that is at least level 2 with 10 members. You can see Omega Project right here is level 6. If you are in a guild that is not level 2 yet, well, then you're probably in a real starter guild. Don't know, maybe you want to join a bigger guild. Till then, you have to decide that on your own. If you are not in a guild or still want to switch, you don't have much time. You only have time till the first deployment stage in Clashfronts ends, which basically means if you see this video and you plan to switch your guild, just do it ASAP. Go ahead, maybe join in your server chat, ask if somebody has a big guild, and a lot of guilds are searching for members. So you should be able to easily find one, and then you can participate in Clashfronts. So, Clashfronts, how does it work? Which resources do we have? So the top tier resource that I found was this one. It's from AFK Journey Wiki. It was written actually by Avatar, where I already made a lot of videos about his research, and they made some insane stuff. He wrote this one actually, so it's a very cool guide, and we definitely want to check it out. So this is about teamwork and skills, well, and also of course about account power. So definitely a game mode where you want to communicate with your guild, and we'll see in a second why. We already covered a lot of the participation requirements, some of the basics. Every Clashfront consists of 4 games divided into 5 rounds. Every single game has a settlement, and in that settlement it's decided if somebody goes to the next tier or not. The tiers itself we already saw right here. They are there at the top. And we have Novice, Adept, Elite, Epic, Legendary, and Exalted. And for Exalted, we can already see it is the top 1 to 4 of Legendary. So it's not like we have a way to upgrade to Exalted necessarily. Those are just like the top guilds from Legendary. So upgrading within those first 5 is a little bit different than to the last one. Also, there is one thing you want to note. The top 16 guilds from Guild Supremacy, they don't start at the Adept tier like everybody else. Nobody starts at the Novice tier. You will start at the Adept tier right here. But the top 16 from Guild Supremacy, they start at the Elite tier over here, making it a little bit easier for them to compete. Guild Supremacy, of course, in case you forgot, is this game mode where we fight the boss. And in there, I think they are going to reference... yeah, we have the overall contribution here, we have the overall damage, and the top 16 that we have in there, they are going to be Elite instead of Adept. So we're going to have a little bit of a head start. Maybe make sure to just compete in there. Actually, I think that's just a little bit weird, by the way, considering that we are just on the early bosses here. I would have found it much more interesting if they referenced to the last boss. I don't know how they are going to handle this. So if you go up from one tier to another is decided by you winning those games. And those games, well, we have a few of those, and the end of every single game will then be decided that the top two guilds, so you don't have to be the absolute winner, you have to just be in the top two, they go to the next tier until they hit legendary. So you have to fight 4 games, and in those 4 games it will be decided in which tier you end and which rewards you're going to get. So you want to do your absolute best on every single game. The question is now, Wraec, how do I win a game? Well, the answer is by getting the most points, and for that we have to take a look at this map. This is the reworked map for Clashfronts. We saw the last map in the beta, which just had those single tiles. Now we have a little bit more graphic stuff in there, which is pretty cool. We have those bases, they all look a little bit different. You can see there are different tiers of those. The lowest tier being this one, then we have a little bit of a bigger base, an even bigger base, and then the biggest base, the HQ in the middle. And all of those grant you different points at the end of a round when they are conquered. We just said a game has 5 rounds, so how does this work? When we start this game mode, we will see the first map. This map will feature our guild and then 3 other guilds. And those 3 other guilds are our enemies. Well, if you can theoretically talk to the other guilds and maybe get yourself like an alliance, but that is like another stuff that is not like featured in game. So we're not going to detail that much. And in there, you have to conquer bases to get points. The value of the base is determined by, well, really how big it is. We have the lowest value base right here. This base, if you conquer it, this will give you 80 points. Then we have this base, it's a little bit of a bigger base, will give you 100 points. The even bigger base, 200, and then the HQ in the middle, 250 points. So the points will be determined by some battle factors, and then also by which bases you hold at the end of the round. Starting, you will be at one of the spawn positions. Let's say, for example, you are at gold. And from this gold position, you can only attack adjacent bases. So in the round 1, our only bases to attack would be this gold 2 base and this base 4. Same for Aqua. Aqua, for example, could also attack base 4 and Aqua 2. One little tip here already. In round 1, there is nobody but your own guild that can attack the respective base adjacent to you. So like the gold 2 base, or for red, the red 2 base, for purple, the purple 2 base. This is a freebie. If you have any team that can attack this, it will conquer it, because there's nobody else to actually fight you in there. So definitely make sure you send a few players over there to get this gold 2 base, because this is essentially free 80 points you can just get at the start of the battle. Then we have base 4, and this is the first base where we are really fighting other players. And how do we fight? How do we even deploy teams? Well, for this, let's take a little bit of a look at what Avatar wrote about the game process. The game process consists of 3 stages: deployment, preparation, and battle. For deployment, we can deploy our teams to certain bases. So, like as I said, we should deploy a few people over here to Gold 2. Not a lot, because we have to actually not defend it against anybody, but a few. And we have to deploy the teams that we have. Which teams do we have? Well, every player in your guild can set 3 different teams. It basically follows the same rules as Supreme Arena. Well, you have the active faction skills. You want to set a PvP team because you're likely to fight other PvP players. And actually, if you're just like one of those regular players, you can do that. You can kind of just copy your Supreme Arena teams. That won't maybe be optimal, but you can do that. So the way this would then work, and this is for really lazy people only, you kind of want to optimize your teams a little bit more, but you can go ahead, you can go into your formations right here, and you can just copy your defense team by just saving the formation, and this will allow you to set it in Clashfronts as well, actually. And we have the same faction skills in there, so this should work out fairly well. You have to, of course, keep in mind it's not the same arena. It's actually pretty much a standard arena usually, and you won't have those hidden tiles, so maybe your setting won't be quite as optimal over there. So it makes sense to kind of put a little bit more effort in there, but I know a lot of you guys don't have time, so I thought I'd show you this little trick, because it at least allows you to participate in the game mode and just set a few teams very, very quickly. Then we have 5 players who will have to put a little bit more effort into it. And those 5 are the Vanguard. We can select 5 Vanguards in our guild, and those can set 2 more teams, so 5 in total. They can't just copy the Supreme Arena teams, nor should anybody really do that. We will make a video tomorrow about more in-depth teams. And And those 5 should be your biggest whales. They're appointed by the leader or the vice leader and should be motivated to do their very best to be up to date on all of the info that you have in your guild, about all of the targets that you set in your guild, because you might just want to have them attack specific tiles as they are your strongest players. And they will have 5 teams, and also they will compete in Vanguard skirmish against the other Vanguard players of the enemy. And with that, we kind of jump over the preparation phase, because the only thing that happens in the preparation phase is that you can see where the enemy deployed their troops. You can't change your troops at that point. And then comes the battle. And in the battle we fight the enemy, starting with the Vanguard skirmish, all the Vanguard players against each other. And then we get into the melee phase. All of the normal players go in there, and the Vanguard players that still remain, because once your team is defeated, that team is gone for this fight. But you might just win the Vanguard skirmish phase by defeating all the enemies and still have teams from your Vanguard left. They will then go into the melee phase and fight the other enemy teams, and whichever team wins that and defeats all the enemy teams, well, they get to win the base. So in the first battle from Gold against Aqua, the team that wins and gets the win over here at base 4, they will get base 4, and the other team will just be defeated, and they will get the points at the end of it. So in this case, that would mean that Gold would probably get Gold 2 if they are smart, and if they win the fight, they get base 4. So we get 80 points right there, 100 points over here, while Aqua would only get the points for Aqua 2, which would only be 80 points. So Gold would already be at an advantage over here. And that is really the way how you fight. And from this point onwards, you just repeat that. We already explained there are 4 games, each with 5 rounds. This was round 1. Then we start with round 2. In round 2, the difference is we conquered base 4. So now we are able to attack from base 4 as well. We can't attack Aqua directly, so our only extra route would be to attack base 3 and base 1, and from Gold 2 we can attack Red 2. Keep in mind, that also means that if the enemy has Red 2, they can now attack our Gold 2. That is an option. And if they take Gold 2, well, that kind of limits our options a little bit, because we're no longer adjacent to Red 2 then. And we can't attack Red 2 back. We would have to take Gold 2, and then we could get to Red 2. And this is the strategy and the game that you want to make. You want to kind of be offensive and take other bases, but also make sure that you don't lose all of your tiles. And if you lose your own tiles, well, then you want to make sure it is a sacrifice that is worth it. So, and with that, we are really already in the strategies. Maybe before we get into that, one more thing to note. You can't really wipe an enemy team, battalion, I should say, with just one team, because there is something called the endurance mechanic. And the endurance mechanic means every team starts with 100 endurance and then starts to lose endurance. And with every bit endurance that you lose, your team gets weaker and weaker. So even the biggest whale teams will succumb to, well, the weakest free-to-play teams at one point when their endurance is too low. If it even loses a battle, its endurance drops to 0, so then it's completely gone, and that means if your endurance is lost completely, then this team is also gone, no matter if it's really defeated, it seems. Then we have 2 areas that I didn't really cover too much. Comet Trial we don't really have info too much on it. The likeliest scenario for me is that the teams that didn't fight in melee phase will then go into this combat trials, which seems to be a little bit of a PvE game mode to get extra points. And then we saw the treasure hamster. The treasure hamster was featured in the last video by AFK Journey, where we got to see a little bit of the loot. It will spawn on the battlefield, and it will dig up a chest, and then you kind of want to get this chest, which also comes with a few extra strategies that you can put in place at this point. So let's get into the strategies. We have the first graphic here by Avatar, and I will provide you with those graphics in the report that Avatar is going to post later, so they are within one of the links. And those strategies look super complicated on the first view. They aren't. You can take those graphics and you can implement them as strategy for your team, because they quickly show you what you really want to do. You have your first step here for round 1, deploy a small task force to capture goal 2. This is what we said. And then concentrate bulk of force to capture base 4. Also already what we said. This is basically, honestly, the round 1 is like the standard move. I can't really imagine any other move than that. And then he describes different strategies that you can do depending on how strong your guild really is. This is the offensive route strategy for top guilds that he describes right there. He describes how we can go for base 4 in round 1 and then use that base 4 to get to base 1, attack base 3, over, well, like the G3 route, or we can really, it's the same as the B4 route, doesn't really matter. And he describes how we can get to those bases very, very swiftly and capture them. And throughout this, he also always tells you how much % of your forces you want to have ready to go through those strategies. So this is a top guild strategy focusing on the middle tiles, where, as you can see, 200, 250, 200, there we have the big points. Overall, throughout the battlefield, we only have 1,170 points in total that we can get. If you have the middle 3 positions, which is like a very tough thing to keep, you already have 650 points. So that is like a thing that that we can invoke here. He kind of describes all of the strategies right here. We have another strategy over there, which is for Dolphin and free-to-play guilds. You can't really attack the middle positions very well because, well, if you are on the free-to-play side, if you are a weaker guild on the board, then you kind of have to make do with what you get. You can still maybe even get to place 2, and maybe if you play smart and get like the positions nobody else wants and capture a few things, you can still get there. So for this, assume Gold Guild is the top guild in this round and is solo leveling without any allies, so they are attacking everything, and you can see they quickly go over the middle positions here, establishing a very strong side. And here Avatar suggests, he chose like the strategy that the gold team will follow as like the biggest competitor on the board, and he suggests that then the people should work together. Avengers Assemble, he calls it, which is really, really cool. And if you work together, you can combine your attacks and try to get a base and just steal it away basically from the gold guild, which can work. Another thing that you can do is, of course, you can focus on stuff that gold doesn't really need. If gold focuses on the middle targets, you might even be able to snag gold 2 away from them, because, well, in general, once you focus on the middle tiles, you are under heavy attack, you have to focus your resources there, so it's a bit difficult to actually go ahead and defend like less worthy tiles, like for example this gold 2. So sniping stuff like this is also an option, and depending on which state you're at, you can like say, okay, if you're Dolphin free-to-play guild, maybe take a look at this. Then we have a max out strategy to secure the top 1 and 2 positions, and the max out strategy of course focuses on the biggest points that you can get. We have 2 very nice strategies right here, one for like the top competitors that could go into the middle. And we have we basically, for this max out strategy, I made a different version that we're going to take a look at in a second, because I want to do it a little bit different than he described. This is certainly a very possible move though, giving you 550 points with all the gold marked positions here, and 460 with the red ones. And you can see the red one is actually very interesting, because it's a bit of what I described before. He's taking 80 points there, 80 points there, 100 points there, and then 1 base over here, which you get. And this already gives you 460 points, and you kind of get outside tiles that people don't really want. Gold will probably not even attack you right here, so this is something that you can definitely do. Then we have min-max, where we have some compromise being done, and it's the same idea. In general, the idea is to get to the next tier, you want to have the most or second most points. So you want to get the most or second most points every single turn, no matter how you achieve this. We can see we don't even have a whole lot of points here with red. We have pretty much our base there, and we don't have a whole lot of attack points as well. We can see the base 1 isn't even in the hands of one of the top teams over here. We will have a lot of fight here on the base 3 against the gold team, but our red 2 is fairly secure, though they will even go for it, and base 2 is there, so we have a pretty steady supply of points that works. And to implement that, you can kind of use like a hyena strategy, where we just have this base 2, we have red 2, and kind of just wait for an opportunity to go for base 3 or 1. Because once you have base 4 or base 2, you can always attack base 3 and 1. You have like the lanes over here, so you're always adjacent to them. You can always attack them if there is a situation where you think, okay, now it should be fairly easy to go there and just attack them and just do like a push to get one of those bases and get yourself into this min-max position where we get the 380 points and kind of bring ourselves on the way to get the overall most points. Now lastly, the strategy that my team will do. Well, we kind of have to give a little bit of a disclaimer for this one. If you are not the top guild in your district and you're fighting other strong guilds, this is unlikely to work. My guild at the moment in our district, it looks like this. We have a lot of top positions over here. We get top positions in battle drills. We get top positions everywhere. So this is basically our situation right now. we can go ahead, we can take a look at this season 2, place 1. So we have place 1s over and over. We are pretty much the strongest guild in our district, and this is why I made a strategy that kind of focuses on having this power advantage. So what I want to do is, let's say we start at the gold position, we will do the gold 2 move, of course everybody should do that. We go for base 4 on round 1, we win base 4, obviously this is like the plan, we have to get base 4. If we can't win base 4, the strategy doesn't even work, so it's impossible. And then we have to do our first real power move, and this real power move is we don't do a lot of defending there on gold 2, I don't care about gold 2. The plan is to go from base 4 on base 3 and 1. No matter if we lose base 4, I don't give a lot about defending this one at this very point as well. The full focus will go towards base 3 and 1 as much as we can. We will do a 50-50 power split essentially to go for base 1 and 3 and try to conquer both of them. So this is our turn 2. Super aggressive. But it leaves us, well, potentially losing gold 2 and base 4, but it doesn't matter. If we win, we get base 3 and 1. And once we have that position, the plan is in place. On the next one, we don't even have to do a whole lot, because HQ is unattackable by everybody but us. If we have base 3 and 1, we are the only ones that can attack HQ. So we can conquer HQ with a single player. And this, from the start of turn through, leaves us in a position where we get 650 points without even having any of the surrounding fields. We just have those two. We have to super defend those two because, as I said before, if you have base 1 and 3, you can attack every single tile on the battlefield, which leaves us in a position that we can snipe treasure hamsters if they appear. But also in the position that every single other guild can attack us at every single turn, basically. So yeah, that is a little bit tough, but you want to leave like 80% at least of your forces to defend base 3 and 1. You don't have to defend HQ because nobody can attack it. And then you can still snipe other bases. If you, for example, we see an opportunity to get base 4, 20% of our strike force will go in there, we'll get base 4 or we'll get base 2. Don't really care about aqua and purple, but one of the bases would be nice because that leaves us at the end of the round with having like 750 points for a single round, which is quite insane. So that leaves us with a very nice lockdown strategy where we just keep the middle and snipe treasure hamsters and snipe bases occasionally while having a huge defense. Why is this so difficult? Well, you kind of have to defend yourself against everybody, so you need really huge whales on your team. And that is, basically the biggest problem right here. If you are in this position, then this center strategy keeps the center and keeps HQ untouchable, guaranteeing 250 points, even if we were to lose base 1 and 3. Yeah, that is basically the best that you can do as a super whale guild. So this is essentially everything you need to know about this game mode. If you want to see some more teams for it to use it, then stay tuned for tomorrow's video. Other than that, I wish you a great day and we'll see us in the next one.